So today, in this Sangha, we are mainly going to talk about the digestive issues and basic preventive measures and basic spices with which we can handle those issues. So nowadays, most of the common things what we see around us is like most of the people are having different health issues mainly related with the digestive system. We meet people who are saying, oh, I'm allergic to this particular thing. I'm allergic to this particular food. I can't handle this kind of food. So why exactly this started happening? And what is the main reason for this? In Ayurveda, we always say that Ayurveda is the science which helps us to maintain our health, to improve our health. That is our first aim. And the next part is to heal the diseases if they happen. So from that perspective, we have so many basic rules and guidelines which we need to follow to keep ourselves healthy. So that becomes the most important thing. But nowadays what happens is, because of so many factors, these rules and guidelines, they have kind of gone away. So we don't follow certain basic rules. So the most important and the basic rule for digestion is to have a good appetite. Now, if you just think yourselves, like you can think about your health, your appetite. So do you really feel hungry when you have your meal? So some people will say, yes, we have a good appetite. That's a good thing. But in most of the people, the thing that happens is they just follow the meal timings and they just think, okay, this is my lunch break, I have to eat at this time. This is my timing, I have to plan things accordingly so that I can manage to reach my office. So I have to have breakfast at this particular time. So what Ayurveda always says is that we have to follow the timings. We have to follow the meal timings, we have to respect the timing, but at the same time, at every meal time, we should be hungry. So that's the thing. And how do we manage this? Because sometimes what happens is people think that, okay, I have to follow this particular rule that I have to be hungry and then only I should eat. So then they tend to eat a little late. Like the lunch happens at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, so that kind of thing. So in the whole process, our appetite, it gets completely disturbed. And when you have no appetite, you cannot digest food properly, you cannot metabolize food properly, and that leads to so many different diseases. Because in Ayurveda, we always believe that Agni, our digestive capacity, is the main thing which is responsible for maintaining the health. If we just take care of it, if we just nurture it in a nice and proper way, we can prevent so many different diseases. So sir, these are not like so many different rules or something you have to stand on one leg for 3 hours or something like that. It's just simple rules which we need to inculcate, we need to adopt to, and we need to use it on a regular basis. Most important thing, going back to hunger, is that we should be hungry whenever we are eating food. So it is not related to the timings, it is more related to the hunger, your appetite, and then the timing. So in most of the cases, in cases of kids, what parents do is that they just feed the kids on a regular basis. My child should not feel tired, my child should not feel lack of energy, so I should feed my child constantly and at regular intervals. But the thing is, to feel the appetite, to feel the hunger is the most important thing to digest certain toxins, certain undigested material stagnant in the body. And if we don't allow that to happen, then we actually support the stagnation in our body. And this stagnation will lead to various diseases. So that's why we always believe that breakfast should be of that much quantity which will make you hungry at noon time. So noon time is the time when the sun is at the apex. So that's the best digestive capacity at that particular time. So we should be eating our lunch around that time. So 12 to 1 in general would be a good time to eat your lunch. And then dinner. The ideal time is before sunset we should eat our dinner. So from that perspective, we should plan our dinner. Sometimes people tend to eat little late and they think, no, I can handle it. I can stay awake for 3 hours after that and then my digestion will happen properly, and then you go to bed. But in the whole process, you create so many different problems with the system. When you stay up at night for a long period of time, you again disturb your digestive capacity. Then you get up late in the morning, so that again leads to loss of appetite. So you will agree with me that when you get up late in the morning, you don't have appetite, you don't feel like eating your breakfast. Whereas when you get up early in the morning, you always have good appetite, you easily handle good amount of breakfast and you feel good about it. So that's why we always need to focus on our digestive capacity. For kids also, they should feel the hunger. They should tell you that, okay, I want to eat something now. Otherwise, just feeding the babies all the time, that's not going to help. That will lead to so many other diseases. So that becomes the most important thing. Going back to adults, eating in this particular pattern, like just keep eating all the time, that is not going to help us. Because that leads to stagnation and that will lead to various diseases which are mainly related to metabolism. So metabolic disorders. So diabetes is one of them. Then thyroid related disorders, that's another thing. Now these are the secondary things, but right from the beginning, when we don't follow our meal timings, when we don't follow certain basic rules, we just have so many problems like flatulence, we don't have appetite, we sometimes have diarrhea, we sometimes have constipation, or then after a few days we think, okay, this is something IBS or something Crohn's disease, so this cannot be treated, I have to be with that for my lifetime. This is what the tendency has developed, but we are not ready to make minor changes. So what we always specifically mention is that have this kind of meal timings, have proper appetite and then eat lighter meals. The dinner should always be lighter than your lunch. So that is another important rule, what we always explain. Usually what happens is people, they have a work lunch, which is usually a smaller lunch, and then for dinner you are at home, so you cook rice, you cook so many things and then you have it at night. So that becomes heavy for your stomach. So try to manage in such a way that you are having good amount of lunch, which will help you in your work, and in relation to that, have a lighter meal at the night time. So that is another thing. The next most important thing nowadays is drinking water. So we come across so many notations, so many things like you have to drink plenty of water, 8 by 8 or that kind of ideas are there. So having excess amount of water has never helped anyone and it is not going to help anyone. So we need to drink that much quantity of water which our body is asking for. So body is so intelligent that we should, whenever body needs some water, we should drink at that particular time. So thirst is something which is guiding us, which is helping us to drink water. Usually what happens is people think that whenever we are thirsty, that means we are getting dehydrated. But it's not like that. We have to drink water whenever we are thirsty. Similarly, drinking excess amount of water at the meal timings. That's another thing. People tend to drink a lot of water during the meals. So that again diminishes your appetite, that reduces your hunger, and again that will lead to different other health issues, mainly related with the digestive system. So we have to drink this much right quantity of water. Another important thing we always say is that the importance of warm things, importance of heating or hot food. So that is something which is really important. Hot, I don't mean pungent food. What I'm trying to say is something which is warm, something which is not cold. So that kind of food is going to help us. So when we say digestive capacity, in Ayurveda we call it as Agni. Some of you may be knowing about the word Agni. So Agni is the digestive capacity which is kind of a fire which is present in our body and which is responsible for doing the digestion, converting the food into bodily constituents. And whenever there is fire, it always gets supported by warm things. If you drink lots and lots of cold water, you just take a lot of ice and then have excess amount of water or even excess amount of liquids. So that is not going to help for your digestion. So your appetite, your digestive capacity again gets disturbed, and after a few days there's no appetite. There are certain issues, people suffer from flatulence, digestive issues like constipation, diarrhea, these things start happening. So cold water is something which should be kept aside. Other thing about hot water, when I'm speaking about water, is that hot water is something which gets easily digested. Because the basic concept is that whatever you give to your body, that goes through the fire, digestive fire, that gets digested and then body utilizes it. So it's not like that you drink 8 liters of water, 8 ounces of 8 ounce glasses, 8 glasses in a day, and everything will lead to urination and it will go away. It doesn't happen that way. It will lead to so many other problems like water retention and few other things. So it has to be in the right quantity and the right time. So warm water is always beneficial for the process of digestion. It supports the digestion. Whereas cold water, it disturbs the digestion. Now, some of us must be remembering, whenever we get exposed to something cold, so our body or anything in the universe shows some kind of constriction. So when you have anything cold, your channels inside the body, your intestine, your gut, that shows some kind of constriction. So the passage of contents from the gut doesn't happen properly. Whereas when you have warm water, it always supports the peristalsis, it always supports the passage of the contents present in the gut. So for the people who are having constipation, they should get into the habit of drinking hot water on a regular basis. So that always helps to channelize the contents in downward direction. So that's one important thing. The other thing about the food is that when we have food, we are always in some kind of hurry. So we are either meeting people, having some important discussions, and that time we are having our meal. So our mind is totally occupied, so we cannot enjoy the food. And mind is the most important factor in the process of digestion. So if the mind is absent, you won't be able to digest the food properly, and on the other hand, you won't be able to metabolize it properly. As parents, some of us, they must be taking care that okay, our kids should not watch TV while they are eating, because otherwise they don't pay attention to the food. But the same thing happens with the adults also. We ask them, but we do the same things. We are just watching something, we are talking something, and we are constantly occupied mentally, and then we start eating. So that's why we always suggest, or in Ayurveda, it is always suggested to just relax for a moment before you start your meals. So that's like a food meditation. You relax for a moment, close your eyes, you can chant a mantra, or you can just relax yourself and then start eating. So by this process, you just calm down your emotions and you avoid all the emotional eating and all other hazards coming from it. So it has to be done, it has to be started as a practice. That becomes the most important thing in preventing various diseases. Now, other important thing what we see is that I'm not talking about what to eat, what not to eat, because that's a big topic, and when some of you who will join 2-month course, you will come to know about all other things, like this particular food has vata dominance, this is going to disturb my vata, this is going to disturb my pitta, those things. But right now we are mainly focusing on basic rules which everyone can start following, and everyone can start getting good results, good benefits out of it. So the other thing is what we do after meals. So we talked about things what we do before, what we are supposed to do before we start eating our meals. The other important thing is that what do we do after eating meals? So some of us will say, okay, after our meals we just go immediately to bed. Some of, I'm talking about dinner. Some of us also take naps after meals. That's another thing. Some of us will say, okay, I don't drink any water during the meals, but after my lunch is over, after my dinner is over, I just drink plenty of water. So all these things are not going to help. What we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to relax ourselves after our meals and let the body work for the process of digestion. If you go for a walk after digestion, that is going to help, but that shouldn't be more than, say, roughly 100 strides. So just in other words, if we are in this room, if we just walk in this passage and we walk 4 or 5 times, so that will be sufficient. But if we go for a walk just to burn the calories, that's not going to help. You won't burn the calories. At the same time, what you will do is you will disturb your digestion, and that will lead to various other problems in future. So any kind of exercise, any kind of physical activity immediately after meals is completely prohibited. Prohibited in the sense, if you do it once or twice, it won't create any immediate impact on your digestion. But when you get into the habit of doing these things on a regular basis, that slowly starts disturbing your digestion. So the best way, what Ayurveda says, is that after you finish your meal, just go for a short walk, which is roughly 100 strides. This is always beneficial to support the digestion process. The other thing Ayurveda recommends is to sit in a specific yogic posture, which is called Vajrasana. Some of you may be knowing Vajrasana. You sit on your heels with folded legs. So that particular posture supports your digestion. This is probably the only asana which can be done after your meals, and that always helps in your digestion. So now whenever people are suffering from minor digestive issues, making such minor changes, this particular Vajrasana, doing Vajrasana after your meals, that always benefits, and just by the practice of Vajrasana for a week or 2, people can notice good changes. So it is that beneficial. The other thing what Ayurveda recommends is that for those people who are really weak, who don't have bodily strength, like elderly people or those who are suffering from some kind of diseases, for them one has to lie down in left lateral position. So that particular position will help them to support the digestion. If they cannot sit down, if they cannot go for a walk, if they cannot sit in Vajrasana position, so for them this is the solution. So they can lie down in left lateral position. So that supports the process of digestion, but not for every one of us. There can't be an excuse like, okay, I'm feeling tired, let me lie down on left lateral position and I might get dozed off in a minute. So that is not going to help. When you take a nap after your lunch, that interferes with the digestion process. So you have to stay awake. And ideally Ayurveda says that we are not supposed to take naps throughout the year except summer. So summer is the period when one can take naps. And these are the rules for normal healthy people. For people who are elderly, who are weak, who are having some kind of disease, even pregnant women, they can take a nap. So these are the things which are mainly related to our digestion and our eating pattern. The other thing about the quality and quantity of the food. So this particular topic, it's spread throughout the year, because it is not something that you eat this much quantity of food for your constitution or this much quality of food for your constitution. Ayurveda talks about constitution but doesn't give you certain kinds of diet plans according to the constitution. What Ayurveda always believes and advocates is that one should have their diet according to the season. For example, whatever the season is, accordingly I should plan my diet. I shouldn't be eating same kind of food throughout the year. One has to make minor changes or understand the qualities of the food and make changes. I'll give you the simple rule or simple example, because we have always been talking about Rutucharya in almost in last few Sanghas actually. So today our topic is different. So when we talk about Rutucharya, we again always focus, or Ayurveda focuses on Agni, your digestive capacity. So what exactly happens in a particular season to your Agni? That is what Ayurveda explains. And just by understanding that, we can make minor alterations, minor changes in our diet, in our lifestyle, and then we can get benefit out of it. Now the first thing is that winter is the season when our appetite is relatively stronger. So when it is stronger, we should be feeding, we should be giving good things to our appetite, we should be giving good things for our digestion. If we don't do that, our Agni, our digestive capacity doesn't get properly, doesn't work properly. So it tries to digest vital things from the body. So that's why we need to feed the body with nutritious, maybe slightly on the heavier side, that kind of food. So that is something which is beneficial in winter. But if we just have same kind of food throughout the season, that doesn't help. So now this particular season, summer, so we have specific kind of cooking we do here, which is according to the season. So summer is the time when our appetite is not that strong. Again, relative to winter. So that way, what we need to do is, we need to have lighter meals, or that kind of food which will support the whole system. So accordingly, our diet should be lighter, and then it will benefit us. If we just have same kind of meal throughout the year, so slowly certain part from our every meal won't get digested, won't get metabolized properly, and will start remaining stagnant in the body. And that stagnancy will lead to various diseases. So Ayurveda always focuses on these things so that we can prevent these things from happening. And when we prevent these things from happening, we can avoid various diseases. Just like the seasonal aspect, we also have daily routine also. We talk about, in Ayurveda we call it as Dinacharya, which is our daily routine. So what time are we supposed to get up? What time are we supposed to have our meals? What time we are supposed to do other activities? So these are the things Ayurveda specifically mentions. So some of the points I have spoken with you right now. So I'll just mainly stress a particular point, which is getting up early. So Ayurveda believes that we should get up early in the morning. So early in the morning in the sense, before sunrise. The ideal time is get up 48 minutes before sunrise, which is Brahma Muhurta. So some of us are doing it, some of us cannot do it, but at least we should strive to do it in such a way that I should get up before the sunrise. So if we get into this particular practice, we slowly start building our health. We can just prevent so many health related issues, and our appetite is always strong. So appetite, I just don't mean by only good hunger. Appetite, what Ayurveda says by appetite is that good metabolism also. Because whatever the things what we do, they are only related with our digestion and then the nutrition. So if you forget the digestion part and start drinking all nutritious foods, so that is not going to help. That itself doesn't get digested, and that's why we get so many different kinds of deficiencies. Even though we are having lots and lots of calcium, lots and lots of vitamin D, still we have osteoporosis, still we have calcium deficiency. The reason is, whatever you eat, whatever the calcium, whatever the nutrition you are eating, that doesn't get properly metabolized. And that metabolism will always happen when the digestion is good. And digestion will be healthy and strong when we follow these basic rules. There are so many different rules. Rules are about cooking also, like how you cook your food. By doing each and every processing related to your food, that creates change in your food. So I'll give you a very simple example, like eating a piece of meat which is uncooked, whereas eating a piece of meat which is properly cooked. So the one which is properly cooked, that's always digestible and one can easily handle that. Same thing with bread or chapati, roti. So if you have a dough of some kind of flour and you just eat it on its own, it won't get digested. You will certainly have some kind of digestive issue. But when you cook it on fire, so that fire will always support, that fire will always make it lighter. Whatever you are doing, you make bread out of it, you make roti out of it, that becomes lighter, and then our body can handle that. Then our body can digest it. So from the same perspective, we have to follow certain basic rules of cooking also. So some of the cooking rules Sanjay ji will be explaining at the recipe demonstration. But the other important point I would like to mention here is that eating salads, so that is not the best thing according to Ayurveda. Ayurveda always believes that we should be eating the food which is properly cooked. The food has to be cooked, and then only our body will be able to digest it. When you get on to having different kinds of salads, so that in the long run disturbs your digestive system. And the last point I would like to mention is about the fasts. So going on different kinds of fasts is not always healthy. So fast is something which gives some relief to your digestive system. But that relief or that particular holiday for our digestive system should be for a short period of time, like a day or two. If we just go on a long-term fasting, starvation kind of diets, so that never helps our digestion, or that never helps our nourishment level also, nutritional level also, and that leads to so many different other problems. So that's why what we need to do is, for those people who are having some kind of weight issues, or they want to lose weight, or those kinds of things, so for them going on starvation is not the solution, because otherwise there would have been only one diet plan which is famous for decades. Every time we come across a new diet plan and we believe in that okay, this will help, but unless you support your Agni, unless you strengthen your digestive system, nothing goes in a proper way and nothing helps. So we have to focus on digestion, we have to focus on the nutritional level, and then stay healthy. So that's the most important message I would like to give. Mandarji will talk about different spices, different minor issues, health related, and how they get benefited by using certain basic spices. So that is going to help us in minor health issues. And if it's a major kind of health issue or long-term health problem, in that situation also, these are the rules everyone has to follow. So in some cases, some situation, the person may need some medication, some herbs, but the rules don't change. The rules are going to be the same. So everyone has to follow it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Tracy introduced me very kindly. Let me tell you that this is only my second visit to US, right? So I am new to US. I have been in many other countries, but for US, I have been new. And I have been told that be careful when you cook the things, be careful when you lit incense sticks near the god statue, because there are sensors on and around. They pick up the smoke, right? So I request you to please guide me that if in case there is smoke and the sensor picks up, what will happen? It's an open question. I would like you to help me, the newcomer. Means if the sensor picks it up or knows that there is fire, what's the reaction in US? I'll tell you the Indian reaction later on.
Water will be coming out of that.
Okay, great, thank you. So water will be coming, and I presume that it is a precaution that the fire doesn't grow up and it's controlled, or maybe it's distinguished. It's destroyed forever. Good to know, because in India we are doing the same. So water is actually the enemy of fire. And I really want to thank Mahesh ji, because it was a wonderful speech. He talked about excess water intake, which has been campaigned globally for last couple of decades, right? So Ayurveda believes that whatever you eat goes into the tummy and it gets digested by what Ayurvedic people call as digestive fire, Agni in Sanskrit. But that's a difficult term to digest, so I will not call Agni, I will call fire, digestive fire. So does it make some sense that if there is something called fire in the tummy which is about to digest the food, we should not load the fire with lots of water? Does it make some sense?
Yeah.
So I really want to thank my friend Dr. Mahesh ji for a wonderful beginning of this scientific session, and I hope that you will you will regulate your water intake henceforth. That's the message to be carried, number one. Now, as the beginning is on a scientific background, I will try to add some spices to it, right? But before that, I have told you this is only my second visit. So I would like to know the meanings of two words from you people, and feel free to guide me. First is, whenever there are some sites on the internet or some advertisements, people keep on saying hot and people keep on using the word spicy in colloquial language. Okay, I am not discussing it in context with food for next 2 minutes. So when in colloquial language we use the term hot or we use the term spicy, what does that really mean?
Sexy.
Okay. One answer is sexy.
Exciting.
Exciting. I appreciate. Plus?
Trendy.
Sorry?
Trendy.
Trendy. Plus? Are there any chances that if the thing is advertised as if it is hot, into inverted commas, chances of people liking it are more? Does it make some sense?
Yes.
And you feel free to say no, because I am still new, right? So, to my knowledge, you people, all of you, those who watch televisions, those who read advertisements in the newspapers and different media, actually know the basic meaning of these terms, hot and spicy. Unnecessarily we are using it in many different contexts, which is another part of the lifestyle. But presently let us concentrate on what is really hot and what is really spicy in context with the digestive system, because that's the theme of today's Sangha. And on the beautiful foundation which Mahesh ji has laid, I will quickly enter into the spices. Indian kitchen has gifted the globe a spice box. I presume many of you know this. Now, in different parts of the globe, one can see that in the kitchen there is something which can be called as a spice box. Necessarily the things in the spice box are hot and the things therein are spicy, in the context that they will be adding likes towards the food, in the FB language, Facebook language, right? If there is something hot added into the food, it will tend to induce a like about the food into the person's mind. It will help the digestive fire to digest the food in a far better way, and some problems like burp or belching or flatulence, which Mahesh ji mentioned, or constipation, which is no doubt an inherited problem only by the mankind. To my knowledge, animals very seldom get constipated. So only the advanced and the smartest animal of the globe gets constipated. So if we add some spices into the food, the spices are potent enough to take care to avoid all these problems. So, are you willing to learn some more things about spices?
Yes.
I will like to start with black pepper, for a very simple reason that black pepper is available worldwide and is known worldwide. But some of you will be surprised soon if I say that once upon a time black pepper was available only in the Indian continent, on the coastal areas of India. If you have heard about Kerala, if you have heard about Ceylon, that is another country nowadays, an island, etc. Wherever the sea was there in the coastal area, this herb, this plant was available. We are talking about a couple of millennia before, means before the Christ period, where the currencies were not yet developed. Nobody was talking about dollars and pounds comparison. So when the visitors from the west used to visit Indian continent, they used to use this. These are the fruits of the herb. So they used to use these fruits as an exchange. Did you get my statement? I will repeat it. As an exchange, just like you use dollars and pounds, for example, or some other currencies, these were used in exchange. And it also throws some light on the utility of the black pepper, in the sense that only such thing can be exchanged, particularly amongst migrants or international travelers, which will be useful in their respective countries or respective geographical areas. So that throws some more light on the utility of black pepper, that why only black pepper was selected, why not some other thing like sugar, jaggery and many other Indian things. Because the acceptor, the one who accepted black pepper, was sure that back home, when he will return to his respective country or geographical area, nation, these things will be accepted by the society, for the very reason that they induce a great taste to the food, they enhance the digestive capacity, they ensure that the food consumed gets digested, and that's why black pepper spread worldwide. What does the black pepper do in our body once we consume it? Of course, it is to be consumed in traces, in small amounts, not in big amounts. And before I start commenting upon its uses, let me add who should not use black pepper. Those who are hot-tempered, those who have some history about like acidity, ulcer or similar diseases, ideally should not use black pepper, because that is extreme hot and that has a capacity to create churning like movement in the gut. But all others can use black pepper because they increase the digestive fire, they will take care of the heavy food, heavy to digest food, and they will make it easier to digest. Particularly those who are non-vegetarians, I would say adding black pepper, maybe it's a pinch, not more than that, but adding black pepper is a must for them. If black pepper is used on a regular basis, the so-called modern parameters like cholesterol, and there are many sub-parameters, as you know, high density, low density and whatnot, then the weight, the popular risk of putting on weight and many such issues can be prevented by the use of this single Indian gift to the world, black pepper. To conclude, there is a question and answer session to end our discussion, so I will go to the next spice. But to conclude, I will say one more thing, that the name itself, pepper, itself has been derived from its Indian counterpart, its Indian name, which is pippali in Sanskrit. It is not pippali, pippali is other variety, a similar variety, but because they were so frequently used, the migrants of that time tried to imitate the pronunciation of this gift for digestion, and in an attempt to pronounce the same, which they couldn't do, and it's obvious I couldn't use the American accents, obviously, so it's not a mistake as such, it's very obvious. So in an attempt to use the same word, it became pepper, right? So black pepper is a gift and which we can use to prevent many digestive disorders, indigestion and many others to come related to indigestion. Shall I shift to the next one?
Yes.
Preferably I'll select something which you know, so that my speech is not heavy to digest. And in the end part I will select something which maybe you are not familiar with. Cumin seeds. Everybody knows cumin. So cumin seeds, they are called jiraka in Sanskrit. And the term jiraka itself means that it makes others old. Not a good idea, right? The term jiraka means it can make old. It can make others old. But please never forget that presently we are discussing it in perspective of food. And whenever the food gets digested, actually it is getting old. Right? It is getting transformed, what we call as digestion. So jiraka, cumin seed, is actually an excellent spice which must be added to our food. It will ensure better digestion, particularly those who know that they have burps, belching or burps, whatever you call it here. And particularly the burps are not clear enough. Cumin seed is the drug of choice. And that's why cumin seeds are added into the Indian spice box. But besides its action on digestive system, cumin seeds have many other actions. The more technical ones we discuss with our Vedika students in the classes, but less technical things I will discuss immediately. Besides its action on digestive fire, it also helps to flush out the urine from the body. Sort of diuretic action in the Western perspective. And lastly, very interesting, and if you have some queries, please reserve it for the last session, question and answer session. Black pepper is known by Ayurvedic people to also purify the breast milk of a lactating lady. Means, for example, if in a family a newborn baby is having problems, mainly respiratory problems, coughing, bronchitis, maybe pneumonia, maybe it is the mother which is gifting the diseases. That's what Ayurveda will say. And I said maybe, not every time. So please don't carry a wrong message that according to Ayurveda, for respiratory problem, mother is the cause. Not like that. But yes, in case of babies who are breastfed, maybe it is the mother's indigestion, maybe it is the mother's, what we call kapha in Ayurvedic language, is the causative factor. And even if n number of antibiotics are given to the baby, they will not be sufficient enough to cure the disease. Why? Because baby is continuously breastfed, repeatedly breastfed. So cumin seed in such a condition will be an excellent medicine given to the mother, and it can also be given to the baby as well. So it will reduce the heaviness of the breast milk. It will, what we call, purification of breast milk, and the baby's problem may also go down. Last one is cumin seeds, if chewed, but be careful in doing that. Cumin seeds, if chewed as it is, not by mixing with food, they have a great capacity to cleanse the mouth. If the tongue is coated and the mouth is, you have a feeling of stickiness in the mouth, that is also a signal of indigestion. So chewing cumin seeds will be good enough to treat the problem. I think the color itself will help you identify what is it. Turmeric. Let me share a true story. When I went to UK about 6 years before MSG, there was a news in the newspaper, published news, officially documented story. And the news read something like this: Indian curry cures pharyngitis. I repeat, Indian curry cures pharyngitis. It was published in UK, and I was obviously curious because I was scheduled to go to UK in the next few weeks. So I tried to go into the details, what is actually happening. Because in a country like US and many other Western countries, when there are some seasons of extreme cold, when the main food is non-vegetarian food, meat, and people in general prefer not to make it very spicy. what happens is actually because of the season and the food. Season is very cold, which we call shita in our terminology, cold, and because the meat is very heavy to digest, which we call guru, because of these two qualities, something happens here, which is called as pharyngitis in modern language. Now, if the Indian curry is consumed, how does it cure the pharyngitis or similar problems or throat problems? For a simple reason that many Indian spices are added into the curry. Means from a plain lentil soup to the Indian curry. What is the main difference? I am sure Vedika students are enjoying because they immediately know the term magic, right? They call it magic here. Means they put black pepper, for example, they put turmeric, they put cumin. It depends on their choices. They put some oil or some ghee. They put mustard seeds, which we will discuss soon, etc. And they call it magic. Why? Because the change which is happening in the plain lentil soup, when it turns into curry, is magical, drastic. There is a paradigm shift in the qualities. And turmeric is the main constituent of this magical mixture. Again, its habitat is India. Means it comes from India, but in many other parts of the globe also it is available. It is an excellent blood purifier. Plus it acts on the throat region. In scientific language, pharynx and larynx are the two organs which are there. So for anything related to voice disturbances, etc., turmeric is a medicine. After every heavy meal, we are prone to have some disturbed voice, if you have observed, particularly if it's winter season and if you eat something very heavy to digest, or very cold, you are prone to get some disturbance, altered voice, and turmeric takes care of that. Means turmeric prevents that. So this is how turmeric works as far as digestive system is concerned. Besides digestive system functioning, turmeric has many other properties. It's a great medicine to prevent skin diseases. If some of you have been to India or seen pictures and celebrations in India, probably you are aware that on the eve of marriage, many communities in India, as a ritual, they believe that turmeric powder should be applied externally. That's a big thing to be done in India just prior to marriage. Because turmeric is an excellent blood purifier, it can prevent skin diseases. And lastly, because so to say there are n number of things, with our students we discuss each herb for half an hour, 1 hour like that. But I am planning to discuss at least 5-6 with you. So I will wind it up. If you have some questions, please reserve it for the last session. But one thing to be added, which must be added. Recently, there was a research somewhere in the West, I don't know the exact name of the university, but you can confirm it on internet. And they found out of some statistics that curcumin, which is the active chemical in the turmeric powder, is effective to prevent dementia. So I leave it up to you whether you will use turmeric henceforth or you will still keep it aside saying that it stains and I don't want to use it. I think everybody knows it. Cloves. Clove.
Clove.
Though I started with 2 words, hot and spicy, let me tell you that all the members of the Indian spice box are not hot by potency. For example, cloves. Cloves are cold. But they have such an intensity in them that even if they are cold, they work excellently on the digestive tract. Particularly when Maheshji was referring flatulence, I think you referred it during your discussion. So if a person is having flatulence, cloves will help the person to take out the gas. Cloves act because of a subtle smell, a very unique smell they have, odor they have, and they help the gas to leave the body, to go out of the body. to some extent cloves are painkillers. I'm sure my students will be surprised because I only keep on saying during Vedika classes that there is no such painkiller in Ayurveda, right? And then why I'm saying it here? Because I am aware that all of you are not like technically into Ayurveda. Painkilling in Ayurvedic perspective is nothing but helping the what we call vata or gas to leave the body, to go out of the body. And cloves, because of their intensity, they can reach up to the deepest of the deep of the body, and because of the odor they have, they help the gas to leave the body. And this is how pain can be controlled or reduced using cloves. The action of cloves on the teeth, I think, is well known. But if you don't know it already, let me tell you that for toothache, even if the clove powder is applied externally to the gums, it will help. And the clove oil will act as an excellent painkiller. This is one of the reasons why good quality cloves are exported from India nowadays. People take the oil out of it, extract the oil, sell it to the big pharmacies, and it becomes really difficult for us to get good quality cloves. So let me tell you that in many toothpastes and in many products that dentists are using worldwide, actually clove oil is one of the contents. So it is that effective medicine for teeth. Fenugreek, you know, and you use it here.
Yeah.
Fenugreek is another hot and spicy member from the Indian magic box. Let me tell you the Indian version of it, how people in India use it, and then let us discuss these things. First of all, in India, fenugreek is used in two different forms. One is in a leafy vegetable form, and second is in the seeds form, which you can see here. Both have, so to say, similar actions, but the seeds have far stronger action, and that's why seeds are preferred, and that they have been added as a member of kitchen spice. Fenugreeks are, again, just like the turmeric powder and the cumin seeds, fenugreeks have capacity to purify breast milk, and if added to our food, they have a capacity to make the heavy food become less heavy to digest. They also have one contraindication, just like the previous one, the one who is having ulcer or acidity. In scientific language it is called hyperacidity, and gastric ulcer or peptic ulcer. These three people should try to avoid fenugreek because it is very hot and it may increase the problem. But for all others, a couple of grains or fenugreek seeds, if added daily into meals, will ensure better digestion, will help them not to have increased levels of cholesterol, not to become obese. Those who already have put on some fat or some more fat, fenugreek is a medicine for them. And lastly, fenugreek has a natural affinity to act on the lumbar region, the west or the lumbar region. So for low back pain or for age-related backache and low back pain, you can add some fenugreek seeds into your meal. Means everything which I am discussing is actually a medicine, a potent medicine, but it is the beauty of the Indian lifestyle and some of the religious, so-called religious rituals, that they have blended them as a part of daily use. Instead of just putting it into medicinal box, they have included in the kitchen box. So this is how fenugreek works. Mustard seeds, you know these? Everybody knows mustard. In India we get two varieties of mustard seeds, but I have been told that here you can get three varieties. One is black, second is brown, or red, whatever you call, and third is yellowish. Do you get yellowish?
Yeah.
Yellow colored mustard seeds here. So to say, in general, the qualities of all the three varieties are similar, but the red ones will be stronger and more intensive. If you happen to be in North India, anytime, you will listen, even if you don't know Indian languages, you cannot forget this. Sarson ka saag. Saras. So it is so frequently used in the north belt of India that it has become a very popular and must to be dish there in North India. I come from the south part and the more west part. But why I am sharing it, because even you will be knowing that the north belt of India is in the vicinity of Himalaya. When there is extreme cold in some seasons, this is a medicine. So you are free to use it here when you have winters. It is extremely hot. By potency means it increases heat in the body. Plus it is intense. It is also potent to take out the gas from the tummy. So flatulence and burr can go down with skillful use of mustard seeds. And why I am saying skillful use, because just like cumin seeds, they are not to be put in mouth and chewed as it is. They must be mixed with some unctuous material like oil or ghee. They are so strong, if you directly put it in mouth and try to chew it, you will feel the pungency, you will feel the intensity. So they are to be mixed with oil, preferably. Mustard seeds, if they are included in the diet, they will increase your capacity to prevent infections, because they are so strong. They are so strong. I always keep on sharing it with my Indian friends, so let me share it here. That mustard seeds, if chewed, you will feel it, but don't dare to do that. They are so strong that they will repel another human being. What about microorganisms, right? So you can say that mustard seeds, if regularly added in the diet, most of the infections can be prevented. Very strong and very intense seeds are mustard seeds. But the same contraindication, those who are already having hyperacidity or ulcer, they shall not use it, because it may worsen the problem. But all others can use it, particularly in winter season and if you have a rainy season as such here. But in summer, just be careful, because it may induce heat or increase already existing heat of the body. Cardamom, everybody knows. Actually, there are two varieties. In Vedika, we use both the varieties. But because this is more used, I am explaining this. Cardamom also comes from the coastal area of India and Sri Lanka, that is Ceylon, but now available worldwide. It has a mild but sweetish smell, you can call, and that's why, at least in Indian kitchens, it is used to add into the sweet delicacies, generally speaking. Of course, that's not a rule, that's not mandatory, but most other spices which I discussed, they go with something spicy or less sweet, and cardamom, nutmeg and similar things, they are mixed with the sweet stuff, generally speaking. Again, because cardamom has a smell, it will have an action on the gas problem of the body, what we call as vata dosha. So it will purify the burr, it will help the person to get rid of the flatulence. And one more thing, I will just say something, because now I have received a notice that 10 more minutes and I have to cover 2 more spices. But if in case you happen to be here as a student, you will learn these in details. But I must add something before I conclude, that cardamom can be used very effectively to reduce itching And if you are alert enough, you will realize that it actually covers a broad spectrum. Itching may be because of some bodily problem, maybe because of some allergy, which is a very popular term here, right? So itching of many kinds can be controlled and in most of the cases cured with a single medicine like this, cardamom. And when a person is having itching, notable itching, cardamom can be used both even externally, but mainly putting the small grains into the mouth repeatedly. But other times, please note that cardamom, if consumed in excess, may induce vomiting. Only if it is consumed in excess, not in trace amounts, not in small amounts. But I know that there are some people everywhere, during every gathering it happens that some people are slow starters, some people are enthusiastic, more than enthusiastic. So it should not happen that I said something and you just purchase a bag of cardamom and keep on putting the grains. So I added this. So please note that when you are itching, cardamom is a medicine. In all other cases, you are still allowed to use cardamom in traces, small amounts. If it is consumed in excess, that can induce vomiting. Particularly a pregnant lady must be careful not to use cardamom unless specifically required. Why? I am well aware that in fact it is recommended sometimes, but that's a more technical thing. Then let the doctor decide whether to give it to her or not. But because it has a capacity to induce vomiting, if taken in excess, it is better not to go for that immediately. Two more spices. Which one you would like to go first? I think this one, because this is the one which you know, cinnamon, right? And very few people will know this. We call them celery seeds, but it's a debatable name. Some other name is used here, right?
Ajwain.
No, the English one. Sorry?
Bishop's weed.
Bishop's seeds. So better I postpone it and I start with cinnamon. Everybody knows cinnamon. It also has a smell, and the same story, because it has smell, it has a capacity to take out gas from the body. So for flatulence and for burping, it is a medicine. Plus it can be used effectively in case of temperature, means fever is the popular term. Whenever the body temperature rises, herbal tea made up of this can be used to reduce the temperature. Reduce the temperature. It can be rubbed into water, but it's a painstaking job, so I wonder how many of you will try it. But in case of headaches, in case of common cold, in case of sinusitis, cinnamon can be rubbed into the water and the resultant paste can be applied externally or even can be intaken orally to reduce these problems. I repeat, sinusitis, common cold, headaches. I have been told that there are different looking cinnamons available here. So qualities will be more or less same, but the more curved variety comes from Sri Lanka to my knowledge. And the other variety comes from India, Himalayan variety. The Latin names are Cinnamomum tamal, which comes from Indian side, and Cinnamomum xylonica, which comes from Sri Lanka, Ceylon side. But the qualities are same, and the one which is more curved will have more efficacy to take the gas out of the body. But otherwise, if applied externally, they will have more or less same efficacy, not much difference in these two varieties. And the last one of this discussion, Ajamoda. Tracy, will you say the English name again? Where's Tracy? Bishop's
weed.
It's called Bishop's weed, or you can also find it in Indian sources, Ajwain, Ajwain.
That is the Hindi name of this. And these tiny looking seeds have great capacity, maybe the strongest of the spices which I discussed. But there is no race in between the spices, so they are happily living in the same spice box. But let me say that it is probably the strongest. If you put a few seeds in mouth and try to chew them, you will know how the pungency is. Maybe there should be a race between jalapeno and these seeds, right? Very strong, and because they are very strong, they ensure two things immediately after consumption. One, they will streamline the gas, wherever locked in the body. So if you feel like burping, but the burp is not coming out, within minutes after consuming these seeds, the burp will come out and you will feel relieved. And same is with flatulence. In many a times it happens that a person is aware that something is wrong, but can't name the problem, what is exactly happening. So if these seeds are added in the diet or can be taken separately with lukewarm water, they will help the person to get rid of the gas problem within few minutes. They will of course induce digestive fire, so digestion will be greatly enhanced. So with non-vegetarian food items, again it will ensure better digestion of them. In India, I am just sharing it, but don't try it immediately. In India, they can be used to create smoke, and even inhaling that smoke helps the person to get rid of sinusitis and similar problems, because they are so strong. Lastly, I will like to share again a true story, and then I will conclude. And then what I have been told is me and Mahesh ji will be there for questions and answers, if any. Right? My traveling started in 2004, and my first ever visit. Before that, I didn't even see how a plane looks like from inside. But my first ever visit was to Johannesburg, South Africa, and I was staying in a family with them and helping them to establish a clinic. On a weekend just like this, my host there took me to visit her niece, who had delivered a baby in last week. And just out of casual talks, it was revealed that the baby doesn't sleep the whole night. Every night the baby keeps on crying. So my host, who was a doctor as well, and that's why she invited me to establish her clinic, she obviously asked them, what did you do? Didn't you call the doctor, etc. The parents said that I called the doctor, and they said it must be colic pain. Do you know the term colic or colicky? And there is no medicine, so don't do anything. And she ended with which is really tragic. She said that now we have scheduled our duties when I am awake and when my hubby is awake, when my husband is awake. Because the baby doesn't sleep the whole night. She cries and cries and cries, then gets tired, and maybe 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning, she sleeps out of tiredness. I was just listening because I was still a new person, and that's why I added this was my very first visit, so I was a bit conscious as well. So then I discussed with my host that you are Indian, this family is Indian, you know many Indian spices, why you are not using very easily available spices? She said, what can we do something here? All the spices are not available. I said, let us give it a try. So we went to a market, sort of free market, what you call here. They used to call it Bangladesh there, I don't know why. And many Indian things were sold on streets, not in malls in a decent packing, something like that, on streets. So I could get these seeds there, Maheshji. I could get cumin seeds. We discussed cumin, and you know cumin as well. So I just asked the lady to boil only a pinch of cumin seeds and similar amount of these seeds in considerable amount of water, 2 cups or even more, to reduce it to half. That is the Ayurvedic way of making decoction, and to give half a spoon, and that too Indian spoon, which is smaller than what you use here. Give half a spoon to the baby, and as a trial and error basis. You will not believe, but if you want to believe in me, that the second day the mother called my host and said that for the first time since last 2 weeks, since the girl was born, for the first time she slept for 2 hours. Still she didn't sleep for the whole night, but for the mother who had seen her baby crying for 13 days after birth, it was a great achievement. And why I am sharing, I am not saying that I have done something great. This is the Indian knowledge which has helped the baby. So this was one of the medicines what we use. So for colic pain, for spasmodic pain, if you want to put it in scientific terms, spasm means if any tube is slightly turned, spasm, muscular spasm is there, it's a great intense pain and difficult to overcome with simple, easily available medicines. But this is such a medicine. So with this, I would like to conclude my discussion. Thank you all for being patient, and thank you Tracy for...
Thank you. So now we have about 20 minutes for question and answer. So we'll go to about 4 o'clock and we'll have some time to talk about events and then our recipes will happen. So please, anything that Ashti or Amanda or G is talking about, please don't be shy. Go ahead and ask. Raise your hand.
Yes.
You mentioned that several of the spices were not indicated if you're hyperacidic, but I associate indigestion with acidity. How do you cure indigestion if you can't take the spices that are supposed to be good for it?
I will say it's a technical question.
Sorry, can you please repeat the question? Some of us can't.
Yeah. He said that many spices are kept on saying not indicated for acidity, ulcer, etc. And he wants to know the reason, right? Or what can be used.
Well, yeah.
So I will answer it only partly because as a policy I think personal things, because it will be more technical. But I will answer the first part. Most of the spices are what we call as potency, hot by potency. Means even if they appear cold, if you touch them, they will be still cold. But their action in the body is hot, and that's why what Ayurveda believes is they continue to be hot. Even if you put it in refrigerator, which is not at all a good idea, I'm just explaining, means they are cold by touch, they continue to be hot in the body. So obviously those who are having hyperacidity or any kind of ulcer, peptic or gastric ulcer, they must not use those who are hot by potency. So what remains for them is clove, cinnamon, and there are a few cold potency medicines quoted in Ayurveda. They can be used and not the hot spices. Same is with the alcohol, but it is presently out of our jurisdiction. But alcohol will worsen the problem for the same reason. It is also hot and intense. Means alcohol consumption is like drinking a bottle full of Indian spices. So it will burn the intestine from inside.
Can you talk a little bit about turmeric and how it can be applied for all sorts of skin issues? You touched on that briefly.
First of all, turmeric is dry itself. So while applying it to skin, one must be careful. There are 2 or 3 ways, I will say, how to use turmeric. First is to add it into the spice. That is the safest way. Second is, one can use it externally if there is itching or some such skin condition. But as I have already said, that one must be careful that it doesn't dry up further. And third is, to make it more acceptable, one can boil it with milk and can use it by oral route and if necessary even external.
You mentioned that some things were relative to sunrise and sunset. For example, an hour before, 48 minutes before sunrise to get up. At this time of the year, here the day can, from sunrise to sunrise, it can be 18 hours.
Exactly.
They'd be only 6 hours.
Absolutely. So basically, when we say sunrise and sunset, so these are basic and general rules. So according to the place, according to the season, we can make minor alterations. Because when we talk about the winter seasonal regimen, we always get a question, so what about San Francisco? So it's always cold. So should we follow the winter regimen throughout the year? So these are minor things which we need to alter according to the previous season, according to, I mean, if it's like, if the sunrise happens at 4 o'clock at some place, so then we are not supposed to get up at 3. So that will be difficult for our body to have proper nourishment from the sleep. So in such cases, there will be some minor alterations according to the place and according to the season. But as a general rule, it should be 48 minutes before sunrise.
But it varies throughout the year, though, so
Exactly.
it can't really be a general rule. So
Yeah.
you need to sort of pick a time and stick with it. What would you recommend?
Roughly. The thing is, I mean, nowadays we have got so many wonderful applications on iPhone as well as Android. You can set up a time 48 minutes before sunrise and your phone will wake you up. I mean, that's not the solution. But the thing is, we should have that habit that we should try to get up before sunrise. That's the most important thing. And at some point, it may not be possible to follow it exactly 48 minutes. But as a general rule, 1 hour, 30 minutes, that should be sufficient.
Between using, for instance, the mustard as a seed versus grinding it up. How does,
Say it again, seed versus?
for using a seed, for instance, mustard seed, is it best to use it whole, or do you want to make it into powder?
No, in fact, it's best to use it as whole. Because if you crush them, you will feel that the intensity comes out immediately and one may find it difficult to even bear the smell and all. So it's better to use them as whole seeds.
And cardamom?
Cardamom, it's better to use them after crushing, making it into a powder.
Can you speak briefly on good pairings of perhaps even just the spices that that you brought up, or ones that you should not pair together at all?
I didn't get you. Will you please elaborate your question?
Yeah, so when you use the spices in cooking, for example, when is it good to combine, or when is it not good to combine the...
Yeah, I'll just.
I can address that question.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, most of the spices you can combine, but it all depends on what season it is and who's using it. So, if some spices that are very hot or very pungent, and the person already has a heat condition, as Mandaji has already told, then those spices should be avoided. Or you could do a combination. So for example, we have a spice mix here exclusively for the summer season. Then we have a spice mix for the spring season and for the winter season. So we've taken the guesswork out of it and done the right combination. So generally speaking, you can mix most spices, but it should be attuned to the season.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'm not the only person this applies to, but a couple of hours after eating, I'm noticing a lot of gas. That's not something that's ever been a problem in the past. It started about several months ago. Does that indicate hyperacidity or lack of acidity? And how does one know? What should one do?
Basically, right now we are not giving any quick fixes as such, but the reason what we are explaining these things is that when you follow these particular guidelines, these particular rules and use of spices in moderate quantity on a regular basis, so then you can prevent so many diseases, like even just having gas after meals. So that is something which can be prevented by using these spices on a regular basis. And we are using spices not as medicines here, we are using it in small quantity as a daily dose. So when you get into that habit of using spices on a regular basis, you can prevent various diseases, and if you are already having few symptoms, so over the period of time it will go away. If you tend to have excess quantity of any particular spice, so that might even lead to acidity, or that might lead to some excessive heat in the body. So that's why the use of the spices should always be moderate. So that's the most important thing. Yes.
I was curious about why two spices I thought was used in Indian cooking or maybe even Ayurvedic cooking very commonly, very often are not included in the magic box, which are, I was thinking about fennel and coriander. Are they not considered hot spices?
First of all, I appreciate this question. It is not that the spices which I didn't discuss are not Indian spices. For want of time and a preferential list we had made, I included only those. If you are interested in knowing many others, because in our short courses we have a curriculum where some other spices and some dairy products are included, and means it's a big deal because there are so many things which I couldn't discuss because it's a small gathering for a public. Even if spices are discussed, if the discussion is too long, it becomes difficult to digest. So only few spices were selected.
Yes.
Could you comment on the consumption of turmeric for us in the Western world? Because we've grown up using turmeric on a daily basis in our cooking. It's just a common spice along with other spices. But now here there's not just scientific data to prove the efficacy of turmeric and curcumin, and individuals who don't cook with it on a daily basis would like to consume it, and they think they will get the same benefit by just, either taking it in a capsule or swallowing half a teaspoon, which I understand is drying. It's not the same way of consuming as we were taught or we do at home. So what would you recommend for those who just want to incorporate turmeric on a daily basis and they don't want to cook with it every day? How can they use it? Should they cook with it, or use it in milk, or warm it, or what are your recommendations?
The best way to use turmeric is while cooking, because it's dry, and if it is taken as it is, it will dry up the person. As a compromise, second option will be one can use it with milk. But I think having turmeric as it is not a good idea, because in long run it will dry the person, dry the skin, which is not a good thing to invite. Turmeric, if used on daily basis, has many other potential benefits which I didn't share, because as I told you, it's like an introductory discussion. There are so many things to discuss. A single use of turmeric can immediately act on blood. Long-term use of turmeric can prevent dementia. There are sites, you can go through them. And what Ayurveda believes is, if turmeric taken on a daily basis with some other medications as well, it greatly helps the wound healing process. It also helps the person to prevent diabetes, or if the person is already diabetes, turmeric will help to prevent the unwanted add-ons of diabetes like diabetic retinopathy, non-healing ulcer, and many more. So no doubt turmeric is to be used daily and preferably mixed with something, not as it is.
I also heard it's good for inflammation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I have a question. I'm a person that sometimes skip breakfast,
Okay.
and I go straight to lunch, and sometimes the lunch is huge. It's just one meal a day. I don't know if it's that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, this is probably, you're the representative of a huge group.
Yeah.
So people have similar questions, but still try to follow as far as possible to get into the Ayurvedic lifestyle, because these are certain minor things. If you just skip the breakfast and have a heavy lunch for few days, few years, you will think everything is okay. I don't have any complaint. My digestion is perfect. But after few years, some things will start happening. So just to avoid those things, it's just like these habits are just like spices. You cultivate them in your lifestyle, and then you will prevent. So the thing what Mandarji was saying about dementia, so the same thing, earlier researchers were working, okay, why Indian people are less susceptible for Alzheimer's or dementia. So they started digging in, and then they found, okay, curry is something. So after curry they found, okay, turmeric is something. But it is not just it's not a pill of turmeric or a pill of medicine but it's just a habit. So in the same way, this lifestyle should also be part of, these habits should be part of your lifestyle, and then it will be possible. Again, to give you the exact answer, I would say what you can do is you can have a small amount of breakfast in the morning. It could be a simple recipe which can be made in advance, and you can store it without adding any preservative. So like some Indian sweet like thing like laddu or something, so which is a nourishing, which is strengthening, so you can have that as a breakfast. And even though the lunch is big, you can choose to eat the right quantity, so that will be beneficial.
I have a question about following our digestion, our Agni, when we travel. Suppose we go from the west coast to the east coast and it's 3-hour time difference. How do you adjust to?
Yeah, so whenever in trouble, whenever in doubt, just go on khichdi, eat simple, most digestible kind of food, then you are good to go. Otherwise, if you think, okay, I have had lunch and now the time has changed, so I am supposed to eat either lunch again or early dinner, so just follow your Agni, just follow what your body gives you signals, and just accordingly have a simple kind of diet. If it may not be possible to have khichdi or any particular specific food all the time, but then make it a habit to have a small amount of food, or just take a bowl of soup. And once you get into your biological clock sets properly, so then you can start eating the regular meals as per that particular place. Yes?
How about some fruits?
Good. So fruits, we always talk about fruits in terms of their nourishing qualities, their benefits. But again, as we always say, nourishment comes later, first the digestion. So if your digestion is healthy, your digestion is good, you can eat fruits. But if your digestion is already compromised and you tend to eat lots and lots of fruits, so then that leads to excess amount of phlegm, excess amount of mucus in the body, because it doesn't get completely metabolized. And then people get so many minor issues or seasonal changes. So you have to focus on digestion first, and then fruits, nutritional other ingredients like you can have nuts, you can have so many different kinds of foods which are available as per the region. But first focus on the digestion part, whether you can easily digest it or not. And as a rule, what we normally say is that fruits usually have that cooling properties around them. So it is preferred to eat in daytime. Don't have a fruit, don't have a banana at night, because that naturally has a tendency to produce some phlegm. And then people get sneezing and cold in the morning. So that's why these are few things one has to avoid. The list goes on and on. Yogurt is another thing. We always say that don't eat it at night, or eat it according to certain rules. So these are few things, but specifically follow your Agni, follow your digestive capacity, and then plan your food.
We have about 5 more minutes. Does anybody have questions?
Yes.
For the herbs, how much is safe to take, like a lot of it, during the day? Like how much is safe? Is it okay to take a lot of it?
It's always better to take that much quantity which you will finish in a month or two. Then you can get a fresh batch. About the spices you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is always better. You can't store spices for 1 year or more than that.
My question, like in a meal, how much would you put? Is it safe? Like cardamom, for instance, I put in my tea and I put a lot of it. It's just like.
Exactly.
Is that okay?
So that part, I'm sure Sanjayji would be answering that when he'll be giving demo there. Or if you want to answer now.
So, with extreme power comes extreme responsibility. So these spices are very powerful. Just because they are helpful doesn't mean that they become a meal. We have to use gradual or sustained doses on a daily basis. So, for example, if you say cardamom, let's use that example. Cardamom for chai. I would say 3 to 4 per cup should be okay, but any more than that, that's excessive. 3 to 4 cups, yeah. And that's per cup. So.
Yes.
Can you talk more about how much water to drink and when, if not in
Okay.
advance?
That's a favorite topic nowadays. So, how much water? I would say the quantity differs from person to person. The quantity of water required for my body would be different, and the quantity of water required for a 3-year-old girl would be totally different. We just can't set exact amount which is required by an individual. So what we need to understand is, we need to understand our bodily signals. So what our body says. There are people, I mean, we always say whenever you're thirsty, drink small quantity of water and it will quench your thirst. But if it doesn't, then drink a small sip again. But when people get into the habit of drinking excess amount of water, that becomes unhealthy. And if we specifically suggest them to cut down on water, they experience some kind of heat related problems or some kind of excessive heat, burning sensation in certain parts of the body. So now you will get an idea, this water was totally masking these symptoms. So water wasn't treating it, it was just masking these symptoms. So when you get to know these symptoms, then you can treat them. Otherwise what happens is, you just keep on masking and then everything surfaces or comes out when it is really big. So it's always better to understand and plan accordingly. Yes.
You mentioned fenugreek is hot and spicy, and fenugreek is also good for cholesterol. So if someone's lowering their cholesterol over a period of seasons, how many should they take, or how should they take it?
You want to know the quantity, the dose, or the mode of intake? For example, in every meal, about 4 to 6 grains can be added as a spice, and if it is specifically for cholesterol, the best way to use it is to soak them in water the previous night, and the other day early morning these grains can be consumed, can be eaten with a sip of water.